I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home.
It's okay, I don't know. All right. So, shall we rest?
We just finished a one-hour budget meeting, trying to put our budget together for 2022. Last week on Monday, we did a 3-hour session, am I right?
Yep.
On the budget.
Just four.
4 hours, huh?
But who's counting?
When we got beyond 3 hours, I wasn't even noticing anything. But we're working as hard as we can on this budget. We're trying to put it together and absolutely trying to keep the taxpayer in mind as we go through the budget. Not an easy job, but it is what it is, and I guarantee everyone out there that this board is doing the best they can with the budget. And thank you to Kelly, who's keeping us right on up, dollar for dollar, where we are and what we need to do. And I thank you, Kelly, for the help on the budget. I'd like to welcome Brian Alward, trustee from the village, to our meeting. And I have the minutes of our last meeting. Would someone like to approve them?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. Is there any public comment on my agenda? Only two publics out there.
Ryan has a couple things he wanted to bring up.
Well, it's not on the agenda, but he can wait till the end of the meeting. I think he'll still be here.
It's ambulance stuff.
Huh?
It's ambulance stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. Yeah, at the end of the meeting, you can do it, Ryan. We transferred into the paying account $147,363 to cover the check run dated October the 7th. The bigger items are Hoffman Equipment, $25,984 for the Highway Department for their skid steer installment payment. The Highland Falls Library got their fourth quarter town contribution of $62,803. Key Bank, we sent $4,257 for the town use on the credit card. And that was various departments. Orange and Rockland Services for streetlights, $2,534. Ryder, Wiener, and Frankel, $12,303 for legal services. Lankin Tully, $4,553 on engineering consulting. Rockland County Solid Waste, $15,703 for landfill charges. And Wex Bank for fuel consumption credit on the credit card, $4,326. Are there any questions on our expenditures? There are, you can ask Kelly.
No pressure.
Okay, board liaison reports. We'll start with Councilman Modlin for a change.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to pull this down here so you can hear me a little bit. That I'd like to just inform the public, inform the board that for the month of September, ambulance response time was at 100% again, so that's two months in a row. So congratulations to the good work that the ambulance corps is doing. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that this weekend, this Saturday, is the fall foliage. That's back again this year, having not taken place last year. So good opportunity, great time to be had by all, and would hope that you'd be able to support that. I believe they are still accepting applications for vendors. So if anyone would like to do that, get in touch with the ambulance corps. The Chamber of Commerce had a meeting last week, October 6th, first in-person meeting that they have had for several months. And basically since the pandemic started, some discussions about sort of reorganization types of things they were discussing. There will be a November meeting, and I think they're planning a December meeting also in person, and date and time for those meetings are still being determined. But that information will be forthcoming. As I hear about that, I'll let you all know about that. There was also, it's hosted by Ann Molina in the Center, great organization. It's something they've been doing for a number of months now, years. In fact, it's the Community Coalition meeting. I've talked about that before, attended that last week also on the 6th of October. There's some Narcan training that the school is doing. I believe that date is, just a second, I had that written down. It's this Saturday at the Highland Falls Intermediate School, the 16th of October, so that's available. I think they are asking if you want to attend that or participate in that training to be sure and sign up on the website for that. The superintendent of schools was at this meeting. He was talking about the SADD organization. It's something a little bit different than what I remember it being called. It is now the Students Against Destructive Decisions, that they are going to, the school is going to be setting this up. So those of you that have children at the high school who may be interested in going to the prom this year, there's going to be a mandated discussion and information given associated with the Students Against Destructive Decisions for your child to go to the prom. The child and the parent or guardian or whomever needs to attend that. So he wanted to make sure everyone's aware of that. Obviously, that's just an announcement from my perspective on the board here, but that's something that the schools will be talking a lot about. And I'm not sure if the supervisor is going to mention it later or if it's going to come during the meeting, but I'll just remind everyone now that the next time we meet, the next town board meeting, we're going to be having a public hearing to talk about the New York State marijuana law, solicit your input and your ideas about whether or not we should, for the town of Highlands, decide to opt out on that for this year. I've invited a person from Orange County to come in and talk to us, to be part of that discussion, to tell us what the latest information is about that. And so that will be 2 weeks from tonight. So just a little reminder about that. Hope you all will listen in and perhaps attend and send us your questions and participate with that. And I have some other comments that I'm going to be making, but I'm going to wait until any business not listed above. So from a liaison perspective, that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Parry?
No report.
Councilman King?
Yes, good evening and good evening everyone at home. Just a few notes here. In regards to the senior residence coordinator, which is the center, we still have some trips coming up. Sight and Sound, Queen Esther Motor Coach Bus Trip, extravagant live show, all you can eat lunch and shopping, Wednesday, October 27th. So if you're interested in that, please contact the center. Additionally, there's an art exhibition at the American Legion Hall, 1 to 6 p.m., Saturday, October 23rd. There's a $5 admission, and light refreshments will be served. Health presentation, How to Avoid a Stroke at the Center, 274 Main Street on Wednesday, October 20th, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And this is going to be presented by the Office of the Aging. And then I just want to inform the community that part of the, for the last few days or so, we've been meeting with the police department, our incredible police department, in my opinion, in regards to the budget. And additionally, and then we're getting continuously briefed on their training that's continuously ongoing with our force. So I just want to emphasize that we have a very professional force. They've done all they could to be fiscally responsible without compromising safety for the community. And so I just want to put that out there. And then the last thing I want to talk about is emergency management. And so in that regard, we still are in the fight against COVID. The good news is that in the state of New York, the rate of infection versus test is 2.4%, I think it was. Everybody that's being tested out there, thousands of tests happening, and then we're getting under 3% of return of infection there. So we're moving in the right direction, but that just means that we're going to need to continue to do all the things that we've done to get there, i.e. vaccination and social distance and wear your mask when necessary. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Sullivan.
Thank you. So as I always talk about, the ZBA meets on the third Wednesday of the month. They will meet remotely. All the information is on the website. Go to the Town of Highlands website, online meeting data. It's all there with the links to it. I saw Kelly upload it today. They'll be meeting on the 20th, which is the third Wednesday this month, and they have an area variance before them. No public hearing this month, but they're having a regular meeting. The planning board meets on the third Thursday of the month. They'll be meeting the 21st of this month, and I believe Justin can correct me. They have a public hearing that's being continued for Pine Hills, which is the apartments across from the Patriot Garden in Fort Montgomery. In the Water District number 2, there's been some discussion about the tank. We have the engineer looking for some recommendations. You heard me mention at the last meeting that I'm kind of opposed to running a line of Canterbury Road. So we're looking at different options based upon, there's a 38 PSI inlet pressure up there, which is about 17 feet ahead, to design a tank alongside the one that's there by gravity feed, about all these complicated things. That's ongoing, and he'll have a report pretty soon, so we have some numbers to work off of. What else? During the DPW budget hearing last week, something rather extraordinary came up. Recycling, like a year or two ago, was close to $100 a ton. It is now down below $30 a ton, and we're still using Republic up in Beacon, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm at fault also. I would encourage people, I know people don't know just what to do, what to recycle. We're going to get better at that. But the town, on their website, I was looking, the blue cans, I think they're like $68. I don't have one. I'm going to get one. And I would encourage people at that price to recycle. That'll save us a lot of money. A couple of years ago, we weren't encouraging it as much as we should because it was actually more money for the recycling than it was for municipal solid waste. So that was a rather pleasing number. I hope it stays that way. And the only other thing I have is last Wednesday, I was unable to meet with Olga and Mindy and Jeff Demonsky from Jewel Assets. And I don't know if Olga cares to talk about that at all, but I know you had an initial meeting, and so we're moving forward. That's it.
That's it. Justin, Jewel Assets. I signed the document that Kelly has, and she's going to send that to Jewel. And
Perfect.
have them sign it, and then they're going to send it back, the signed copies.
Yep, just
So
what you
that's-
asked for,
so
right?
that's taken care of.
They got us the non-draft agreement, but
Yes.
that we had
Okay,
already
so
reviewed.
Kelly's taken care of, and I've signed it already.
Excellent.
Okay. Okay, everybody, well, not everybody, everybody doesn't know this, but our basement was flooded again a few weeks ago, a month ago, whenever we had the big heavy rainstorm. So we kind of need an emergency waterproofing of the basement. It amounts to building the section of concrete section where it's missing on the outside wall, approximately 12 inches to 3 foot high, 6 foot long, to be pinned on both sides to the center. Then they want to drill through that and anchor it with epoxy and a threaded rod drilled in. And then they want to point the existing stone wall from 100 square feet of repair. That price for that is $5,400 from Yankee Construction, who's been doing our basement work. Also, on the inside, they want to inject a waterproof grout into the block walls that intersects with the retaining wall we built. If that doesn't cure the problem, they propose to add 3 more sump pumps on the floor. Cost for the grout injection is $1,900. If they add more sump pumps, that's $4,200. So this brings this whole project up to $11,500. I'd like to ask a motion to the board for us to go ahead with the project.
Motion.
Second.
Can we have a little discussion?
Yeah, they're just going to say anything.
So, did we get other, Kelly, did you do this quote?
I didn't,
Okay, did we get quotes from someone else?
I don't know.
No, we didn't, and we don't need other quotes from someone else only because it's an emergency, but
Okay.
unless you think that would, June, you worked on this too.
It's the gentleman who did the original project in the basement. That and the engineer are the ones that worked on that.
Okay.
To get those numbers.
So, I mean, is it an emergency in terms of an emergency? We can't wait to get other quotes?
I can't predict the rain,
Well, yeah.
unfortunately, I wish I could. So,
Pat seems to think this is a very good price. That was his,
Okay. And where's the funding going to come to pay for this?
Town Hall Reserve Fund.
Okay, and we've got those funds?
Kelly said yes, right, Kelly?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, we're setting a public hearing, right, Susan?
Tonight.
I don't have the resolution for the public hearing for the Town Hall Reserve Fund.
No, that can be made by motion, and then you'll hold the public hearing, and then, assuming the discussions at the public hearing, you'll be able to make a determination as to whether you want to expend those funds or not.
Okay, that public hearing would be on the 25th?
That would be, yes, correct. I believe it's, now I've forgotten because we have a couple for the 25th, but I've forgotten whether it's 7:05, or 7:10, but yes.
So then we need a motion to set a public hearing.
That's correct, to expend those funds.
To expend up to $12,000 from the Town Hall Reserve Fund. Public hearing will be at 7?
Yeah, I don't know, no, I think we have the tax cap at 7, so 7:05 or 7:10.
7:10 is special districts.
No, that's November 1, we're talking about October 25th. No, we're talking about October 25th.
Okay.
The budgets are all November 1.
Yep.
They're 7 and 7:10. Sir, I would make it 7:05. It can always start later. It can always start later.
Can I ask another question then? We're talking about the 25th of October?
That's correct, 2 weeks
So-
from today.
When is the time for the public hearing that we talked about last time for the marijuana opt-in?
Right,
opt-out?
that's 7 o'clock.
Okay, because we're going to need some time for that.
No, I understand, so I appreciate that, you're correct. So oddly, right, with public hearings, you have to, you can start them when they're called for, or you can start them later. You cannot start them before they're called for. So normally we space them by 10 minutes.
Okay.
Occasionally, there's some dead time in between and you stall, right? But as long as the public is aware and it doesn't start before when you've called it for. So with the marijuana at 7, I would schedule the town halls at 7:10. They're allowed to start later because the public would be apprised, if that makes sense.
And Jim, also, this company, you're not familiar with it because they're the ones that did the original waterproofing of the basement.
Okay.
So it's kind of a continuation of their project.
Okay. No, I'm just,
Which I
I'm
feel
just
comfortable with
asking
these
about
guys doing.
procurement policy and all that type of stuff. So, yeah.
Okay, so I have a motion to,
And you got a second?
motion's going to be up to 12,000.
a resolution to set a public hearing for spending up to $12,000 from the Town Hall Reserve Fund.
And you're gonna.
Just,
and
I'm
later
sorry.
on, the decision will be whether or not we need the additional 3 pumps.
Yeah.
So we're up to that. Okay, so we're covered, but
Yeah.
that decision will be made later.
Do I have- do I
I'm
have
sorry,
a
just to
motion?
clarify, Supervisor, will you clarify that that's on expenditures for leaking in the basement? Because I think you also want one for leaking on the
Yeah.
roof.
Do I have
So,
that one yet?
Again, both of those are by motion, but I just want, so the public is clear that there's actually going to be two different discussions of reserve fund expenditures from the town hall
It's
reserve.
on the agenda. So the first
roof?
item, you have the, yeah, where it says resolution to use town hall repair fund.
Right, that's-
That's for the roof.
And this is for the basement,
Yeah, but, okay.
right?
Oh, all right, okay. Time out, fine, good, okay. So anyway, we have this motion on the floor here to set a public hearing for the Town Hall Reserve Fund, spending up to $12,000 for emergency repairs of the basement.
We have a second also.
Okay, a roll call, please.
It's a motion, do you still want me to do roll call?
Yeah, I still want to do it.
Okay. Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember Perry?
Aye.
Councilmember Modlin?
Aye.
Supervisor Lizzie?
Aye. Okay, Justin can help me out with the next thing on the agenda. Tam asked, well, we're holding from the sewer project, we're holding $114,600 from Tam, and we're also holding $32,350 from Pantel Electric. This is retainage. This is guaranteeing that what they've done is going to work, and if not, we're going to call them back and have them fix whatever they need to have fixed. TAM asked to have at least half of their money sent back to them, which is not an unusual thing to do, but that project is anything but usual. We've had more problems down there, and I've explained to them on the phone that even with the dechlorination building and the project that they did, I had to threaten to go to the performance bond to get them to come and fix it. So I have no intentions of giving them any money back until we have to.
Sure.
And that's what, a year we hold it?
That's typically a year. Correct, as the supervisor explained, retainage is a typical part of all large-scale capital projects or even modest construction projects, right? You pay as you go, but you retain, you hold back a certain amount of funds to ensure that the project is done properly or correctly. So TAM is used to that. Most contractors are used to that. As the supervisor also indicated, it's not unusual for them to ask toward the end of a project, hey, we're basically done, let's get some additional payments. But in a large-scale project of this nature where things need to settle in and function, it would not be unusual for the town to continue to hold the retainage until a later date. So a modest reduction, some towns might consider, but certainly you need to hold some of those funds to protect yourselves.
I wouldn't recommend, and you probably also, Rich, to give them anything back until.
I
we
forget
have to.
just what the numbers were in the email. Their portion was about 2.3 million, if I'm not mistaken. So if you were to
Right.
hold 3%, that's close to 70,000. In my gut, I think there's a need to hold 70,000 for things that I believe are going to need attention in the future. I think they were looking to go down to either 2.5% or 2%. I don't remember what they were looking for to get all retainage back. What I would bring up is there's been some changes in the substantial date of completion. That's an important date because I think it would be a calendar year from then that the retainage would be returned. So the EFC has reviewed it. I'm not sure what that date is right now. I think it was looking to be extended from what it was, wasn't it, Justin?
Yeah, that's correct.
So my gut, I don't know what are we holding back, like 114,000, something
Yeah,
like that?
114,000. I'd recommend we hold it.
I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I'm with you.
So I'll ask for a motion from the board to hold the retainage on TAM and Pantel. One of them, 114,600, and Pantel is 32,350.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you very much. Okay, we have Central Reserve Fund. Where are we at here?
Sure, that you have a resolution for, sir.
Okay. Okay, we have a resolution to establish a capital reserve fund in accordance with General Municipal Law 6-C called Central Services Building. Whereas the Town Board, Town of Highlands pursuant to Section 6C of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York desires to establish a capital reserve fund to be entitled the Central Services Building Reserve Fund for capital improvements in the Emergency Services Building. Whereas the initial appropriation for said reserve will be $10,000. Whereas the creation of said reserve fund constitute routine and continuing agency administration and management, not including new programs or major reordering of priorities that may affect the environment, and accordingly is a Type 2 action under the State CEQA Act. Whereas the Town Board, Town of Highlands, after due deliberation, finds it in the best interest of the town to establish such a reserve. Any questions? No questions. Therefore, be it resolved, the Town of Highlands shall establish a reserve fund in accordance with the General Municipal Law 6-C entitled the Central Services Building Reserve Fund. I have a motion to move the resolution.
So moved.
Second, roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember Perry?
Aye.
Councilmember Modlin?
Aye.
Supervisor Lewis?
Aye. Okay, now on the roof, do we have a price on that? Was this
It was 12,000, I thought.
on the roof? Are you sure?
I can go check my email.
I mean, who'd we get the price from?
Pat? Or you? How do you?
Now, the 12,000 is for the
I know.
basement.
I know, but I didn't
But-
know. what
but the
price-
roof, I don't
I
think-
didn't know what the cost of the basement was.
John O'Rourke was involved in both of those, wasn't he?
Yeah. I wasn't aware of the basement project. I didn't know the cost of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd been told at least a week ago that the roof repairs were up to $12,000.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
You want me to go check my email?
Yes, please. Please. And we'll move on to something else. Okay, overriding the tax cap, as I explained the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years or what have you. It takes a town law for us to override the 2% tax cap. Each year, we pass the town law to override the tax cap, not knowing whether or not we will or will not be overriding it. But the law must be in place if we do override the tax cap. Overriding the tax cap means that we would be spending more than 2% over last year's budget. In other words, the taxes would go up 2% or more. Am I saying this right?
Spot on.
Spot on, okay. So in order to do that, we have to have a public hearing, and that public hearing will be set for October the 25th at what time?
710.
7:10 PM. Do I have a motion to set up a public hearing to
Motion.
override tax cap?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried, thank you.
That should be by roll call, sir.
Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember Perry?
Aye.
Councilmember Modlin?
Aye.
Supervisor Lewis?
Aye.
I don't have an email. He must have called me, Pat, but I'm gonna text him and see if he'll confirm.
Okay. Yes, I do have the proposed expenditure, and it says 12,000. But to me, 12,000 for this roof sounds very cheap. I don't know.
Oh, okay, let's see what he says.
Rich, what do you think about?
On the roof?
Yeah.
So I have the email from John O'Rourke outlining basically an RFP.
Right.
To put it out there. He has no numbers on it, obviously,
I
at
don't
this
think we
point.
put the RFP out. I really don't.
So listen, I mean, I don't like to speculate on things I don't know about, but 12,000 is in the ballpark to re-roof the whole thing. I looked at the report, I'm looking at it right now, of pictures that he took with the drone.
Yeah.
And he had a little analogy,
I saw his
board
report and
slopes and all that, you know, so.
But that report was based on us sending an RFP out to the general public,
Okay, we didn't do that yet?
not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Kelly, we didn't do that, did we?
To what?
Send an RFP out for the roof?
I didn't, but Pat may have.
Well, if he did, we didn't get any answers back.
You could certainly table it. That's about the expenditure from the reserve fund, and at some later point, you could schedule that
Okay.
hearing.
So let's table that resolution to use
Says
the,
waiting for John O'Rourke for the updated RFP.
okay, so.
I'm
so
gonna
we don't
email
have
it
a
out to
price.
both of you right now, what I have,
So
okay?
we're gonna table it.
Okay.
If I may, just so Town Clerk June? So we need to fix the resolution, the public hearing notice that I sent you, because that was about the roof repairs, not about the basement repairs. So I'll get that to you first thing in the morning, because it has to go to Mary Jane's
So
paper.
you're gonna be the one that I need to send to me, to Mary, get Mary.
Correct.
And just so I'm clear, that will be for the basement.
That's only for the basement. That's correct, sir.
So there is no public hearing about the roof on the 25th.
No, because we don't have a price yet. And, so I think I just need a simple motion to table the resolution to use the town hall repair fund for the roof. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Preliminary budget, public hearing. Wow. We need to have a public hearing for the preliminary budget, and I'm asking for a motion to set a public hearing for November the 1st, 2021 at 7 PM. And in accordance with the provisions of 106 Town Law and other applicable provisions of the law, the preliminary budget for the year beginning January 1st shall be filed in the office of Town Clerk, Town of Highlands, where it shall be made available for inspection on or before the time of the publication of the notice of public hearing. So that means, June, you've got to get our preliminary budget and have it available to the general public.
Kelly will get it to us.
Okay. So,
That's on the 1st we're doing that?
on November the 1st.
Okay.
Correct, Kelly?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the first Monday of the month we're doing that.
Yeah,
Correct.
but it's a timetable where we have to get it in, yes, yes. Another Monday we gotta work, yeah. So I'll ask for a motion to move the resolution scheduling a public hearing for the preliminary 2022 budget for the town of Highlands. This would be on Monday, January the 1st. That's on new.
Yeah. November the 1st.
I'm looking at January 1st. Oh,
Uh,
never mind. I'm sorry, November the 1st. It's,
Motion?
Second.
roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
Councilmember King,
All right.
Councilmember Perry,
All right.
Councilmember Modlin.
So before I vote, I have a question. Is there any reason why we would not want to have more than one public hearing? And the reason I ask that is on the 8th of November, the village is going to be voting as to whether or not to dissolve. If that vote turns out to be yes, the residents of Highland Falls vote to dissolve, I cannot help but think that is going to have an impact on what our budget's going to look like in 2022, and that we may need to be rethinking and relooking some things based upon that, because we are not considering that right now in our
So,
budget
so
discussion.
the only thing I'd say to that is, budgets for all towns in the state of New York have a strict timeline, and you're bumping up against it, and there's going to be no ability to revise your entire budget for the 2022 year. If there is dissolution, most of the time frames would have a greater, much significant likelihood to have a greater impact for the 2023 budget, because there is a time period for the dissolution plan to be put into effect, negotiated, and ultimately passed. While I appreciate that that's a legitimate concern for many of your discussions that you're having, it's really going to have a more dramatic impact on 2023, and I don't think you'll have time to pass a budget if you wait to see what's occurring.
So, yeah, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on, but the reality is if dissolution would pass, the best-case scenario looks like it's going to be, when it would actually dissolve, sometimes toward the end of next year, 2022. The village would be intact, they would have their own budget, they would need to be doing a bunch of different things, but there's going to be a need for us to expend some funds. There may be grant opportunities for that and stuff like that. So I just wanted to, alert us to the fact, and alert us to the fact also that my guess is people are going to be asking those questions. And so, again, that's sort of, you're cutting to the chase of my question is, where are we, and do we have time by state law to be able to make some adjustments or not? It sort of sounds like it's the first, or that's the latest date that we
I don't have the date in my head, but I know we're the way most towns, including this town, so I don't want to make it sound like you're doing something different than most, right? But most towns use most of the time frame working on their budget, getting to their preliminary budget, having their public hearing, and just having enough time to pass it, or should you have a lot of public comment on a few changes, right, and being able to pass it in time. The dissolution issue, I agree with you that is, should it pass, will have a dramatic effect on your community and needs to be given consideration, but I don't think for this particular vote. Your budget will, right, like all budgets, there are expectations based on the facts you know. If dramatic facts change and there is an impact late in 2022, you'll be able to make adjustments. Whatever board is sitting here will be able to make those adjustments as needed, but, so I wouldn't recommend holding off on your public hearing. I think it's necessary and you need to complete your typical process.
The budget has to be adopted by November 20th.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Which is a Saturday.
Okay.
The Monday before that is the 15th. So we have the public hearing on Monday the 1st.
That gives us 2
That gives
weeks.
us another week to make changes
Okay.
before the 15th.
Okay, that was my other question. So I think the vote is me. You're waiting for my vote?
Yes.
Okay, aye.
And Supervisor Lewis,
You got everybody?
I need you to vote.
You need to vote.
Yes,
Scheduling the public
Aye.
Threw you off track, sorry.
thank you.
Okay, we got one more public hearing to schedule. What we do is we look at all of the assessment rolls, benefits, and what have you in our sewer and water district. And so this would be a public hearing for all the districts. So if anyone is living in the water district, sewer district, District 1, District 2 in the water, and if there's any problems or any questions or what have you, they most certainly should come to this public hearing, because once we pass the assessment rolls, that's it for a year. So we've had problems in the past where I've had somebody come in and say, well, gee, I didn't know. Well, you know now, and I can't change it now. And I agree with you. When you come, or next year when we come to this, I will change it. I will change it, but I can't change it now. So it's very important that people come to this public hearing, which is scheduled for November the 25th.
Nope,
at
November 1, November 1.
Where do I get 25th from? Boy, I'll tell you.
Thanksgiving.
Okay, because I was going to say January the 1st again. But, November the 1st, 2021 at 7:10 PM. Do I have a motion to move the resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember Perry?
Aye.
Councilmember Moslin?
Aye.
Supervisor Lewis?
Aye. Justin, did I miss anything on all these?
No, that was terrific, Supervisor.
It wasn't exactly terrific, but, Jim, you had something you wanted to bring up?
Oh, yeah, yes, I would. And talking about, really about all these public hearings, something that Supervisor, you were just talking about, the importance of, I'm going to pull this down, the importance of people being involved, attending the meetings, listening, expressing your opinions. We've got some important votes coming around. I already talked about the village dissolution vote here on November 8th for our Highland Falls residents. The week prior to that, the 2nd of November, is an election in which a number of the positions on the town board and also in the county are up for consideration. I have some numbers for some people because there seems to be some interesting comments going on around the community. Just so everyone is aware, and I've got this from the Orange County Board of Elections, there are 4,185 registered voters in the entire town of Highlands, people who can legally vote in the town of Highlands. 2,734 of those registered voters are in Highland Falls. That represents, if you want to do the math on that, that represents over 65% of the registered voters in the town of Highlands live and are registered, have an address in Highland Falls. There seems to be some discussion about what happens if dissolution takes place to people's ability to influence local government. Those are registered voters. Whether or not dissolution takes place has no impact on that at all. They are still registered voters. The reality is, all of us sitting on this board right now would not be here if it wasn't for the weight of the village of Highland Falls residents voting in these elections. I certainly wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. That's not going to change. Fort Montgomery has 979 registered voters. That's about 23, a little over 23%. I hear a lot of conversations about West Point. Hear a lot of conversations about just this weekend. I don't know if any of you have heard this or not, but several residents have been coming to me saying that people have been saying to them that if dissolution happens, West Point's going to come in and buy up all your land. West Point's going to be doing this, West Point's going to be doing that. Shame on anyone who says that. Shame on if it happens to be an elected official who is spreading those rumors and saying those kinds of things. Nothing could be further from the truth. West Point's, quote-unquote, West Point, whatever that is, their impact on local elections, 472 registered voters. That's it. 472 registered voters can vote in our town elections. That is just over 10%, 11.27%. So I think we need to be very, very careful in terms of what are we thinking, what are we saying, and the information that is being put out and being spun. So that's the vote, the importance of voting. I commented, I know you all don't remember, but one of the things I first commented on when I joined the board back in January was how impressed I was with the amount of people that came out and voted last November. I know Councilman King and I talked about that a lot. And I just really hope and encourage you all who are registered voters, legal registered voters, to come out and vote for the election on the 2nd of November, and also vote, if you are a Highland Falls voter, to vote for the dissolution. Whether or not you are for or against it, come out and vote. It's an opportunity for our voices as citizens to be heard. That's what a democracy is all about. I understand from the last village board there was a discussion about what is democracy about. I'm not going to go into that. You can read about it, but as far as I'm concerned, democracy is about people's voices being heard, and being heard civilly and being heard respectfully, unlike what seems to be going on here in our local community. There's another thing that I've heard about misinformation, intimidation, threats of services going away. Nothing could be further from the service if the village, or further from the truth if the village dissolves. One of the things that will be developed if the village does, if the voters decide to dissolve the village government, and that's an important thing that people understand. We're talking about a government entity. If the voters decide to do that, then there will be a detailed dissolution plan by law that needs to be developed. I'm going to be having a meeting at the center this Wednesday, open to anyone who would like to come to that to talk about that. A lot of people have been coming to me, asking questions, trying to find out what is fact and what is fiction. There are some things that I will share, information that I have. I'll be very open to all of that. I would encourage you to do that from 10 to 12 this Wednesday. I'd be happy to do that, happy to meet with you. One of the things that in the law is talked about with the dissolution plan will be a detailed discussion of how services to the community will continue. It will be detailed, and that will be publicly announced. That will be available for public comment. There will be, in the dissolution plan, a discussion about any agreements. They're called intermunicipal agreements, agreements with the town. That needs to happen, and that needs to be detailed and made public in the dissolution plan. So any concern, any consideration about a lack of services is totally unfounded. There's not a single person that is sitting on this board, and I really hope there's not a single person that's sitting on the village board that is going to want to do anything to mitigate the service and the service delivery to any resident in this community. And if any of you are getting any indication that that might be the case, I want you to come talk to any of us, but definitely come talk to me about this, because this is too great of a community. We are too closely knit. We have too much going for us to let some personal types of things happen to tear us apart, which is what's going on right now. And again, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm really speaking for people who are coming to me concerned and afraid of some of the things that are being said, which is totally, totally incorrect. And so call it as it is, and it needs to be said. And I think that, again, if you have any questions, please see me at the center on Wednesday. If, depending upon how that goes, we may be doing more of those. But I will have available information about the law so that you can see in black and white what this is all about and what it's not about. And please don't be concerned. Please don't be worried. We will ensure things are taken care of. Okay? My biggest concern, I've said this to some people that I've been meeting with quite a bit here lately. In fact, a resident I met with today, in fact, he said it quite well, that we want to ensure, a lot of this is with senior citizens. We want to ensure that senior citizens can continue to afford to live here. And we're talking about those kinds of things in our budgets, for example, with tax increases. And we want to also ensure that those that are raising young families can continue to live here and raise their families here, and that there's opportunities here. And we're not going to let anything like that happen. All right, so
Very well put.
that's my piece. Thank you so
very
much. I
Very
appreciate the
well
time.
put.
I'll just add that, to my recollection, towns set election districts. There's 6 districts in this town. Each district is supposed to have about 800 people. I think the last one that did that was Bob Monroe, probably about 15 years ago, God rest his soul. When I was on the school board in 2010, the subject came up of people on West Point voting. And as you just said, there's 482 of them on that board. So says the Orange County Board of Elections. They qualify for residency. They're eligible to vote both in town and in school elections. That became so hostile, we went to a contingency budget. We laid off like 11% of the workforce. It was rather nasty. So the relationship we have with West Point is bittersweet. I have a brother went through the Corps. Marty Meyer was my uncle. My family lost land here. It's really nice that they can vote on things that pertain to my sewer district and to the water district in Fort Montgomery. I wish I could vote on stuff up there, and that's my comment.
Thank you. The cannabis public hearing, I had a handful of people, of which half were in favor and half were against. So it's very important for people to come and, give us your opinion, let us know what's going on. There are a few people that talk to me that have a medical prescription for it, and they would like to be able to get this a lot easier than that. So that was one of the reasons they like to see it. So I encourage anybody that's got an opinion on the cannabis regulation or resolution to come to the public hearing, please.
Could I just make a comment about that too? Because, again, I had an opportunity to listen to one of the Center's Community Coalition meetings back in June, in which this lady from Orange County came in. I reported on it briefly back at one of our meetings back then. But she is someone not taking a stand one way or another on it. That's not her role. But has facts and information regarding it. And one of the things that came out last week at the Community Coalition meeting was that the state is setting up a cannabis control board. Their first meeting was on the 5th of October. So, it sounds like everyone is sort of getting their act together on this whole thing. And so she's going to have information about that, information about sales tax, information about a lot of different things. So I think the reason I invited her, and she said she would be willing to come and talk, is for the purpose, I told her it was a public meeting, for the purpose of trying to get some facts and some information out, answer questions, stuff like that.
Chief, you have anything for us?
Just one quick thing, if I could, sir. And not to get into the investigative part of it, but I know most people in the community know there was a tragedy yesterday, helicopter struck 218. I just want to take a moment to commend our officers again. Nick Vazios and oncoming shift was Ray Mang Jr. They notified, I spoke to them initially, once I heard about it, and they were en route. I spoke to the deputy chief who was on his way home, who turned back around. He was the duty chief yesterday. He was at the command post, and both our officers trudged up 218 to search for that helicopter. So I just thought it was important to mention once again, the caliber of people that were there. They had no regard for their own safety. Teamed up, the state police have the investigation. They did an outstanding job, but, 2 young police officers, not every day you get a report of a helicopter crash.
Yeah.
So we spoke with them yesterday. Physically they're fine, emotionally they're fine as well, but just thought it was worth noting that Deputy Chief was at the command post and both our officers took part in it as well.
Thank you.
And just a caveat, that's an example. My colleague, Councilman Modlin, eloquently talked about these perceptions that's out there that's based off false information. So there's people who perceive the town of Highlands Police Force as just patrolling Fort Montgomery, which that is false.
Right.
And so we look at the geographical span of the town, which then bumps up next to Cornwall. And in this case, here's our officers doing heroic work in a tragedy yesterday. And that happens more often than not. These guys are out there doing those kinds of things. So I just want to just caveat to the community that they do a lot more than patrol just Fort Montgomery.
And additionally, it was not known where it was. I was in communication with the police chief and town council as well. And then eventually it was determined where it was. So no hesitation from our officers whatsoever. So.
Good job.
Yeah, good job to them.
I think it's worth mentioning that the deputy chief was on his way home from church, but it wasn't exactly church. The Baptist church in Fort Montgomery with Pastor Snavely puts on a emergency services thank you. And all the emergency service people were invited. A number of people showed up there. A very nice speech, presentation, quite a long sermon, but we'll pass that by because they're famous for long sermons. And then they treated everyone to breakfast in the basement of the church. So that was a very nice thing that Pastor Snavely does every year.
Yeah, that's Grace Baptist.
Grace Baptist.
Grace
Yeah.
Baptist.
Should isolate the timeline as well, so I think the deputy chief was almost home when I contacted him on the ground. I was at the command post with the state police as well, so just turning around probably makes it look like a quick U-turn, but he was almost home when they came back. So both our officers had supervision there, and again, under the guidance of the state police, who I think did an outstanding job as well.
But he was blessed, so he safely came back down. Kelly, do you have anything? No. Justin, do you have anything?
All set, sir.
Public comment from anybody?
I thought Ryan had something.
Yeah, oh, yeah, we'll get Ryan. Anybody else, though, public comment?
Good evening. My name is Ryan. I'm a volunteer EMT at the ambulance. Just to talk about the fall foliage, I know Jim talked on that. It's this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 on the north end of Main Street in the village. We are still looking for vendors, and we're going to be accepting vendors till the morning of the event. And if you'd like to become a vendor, you can message the Facebook page at Town of Highlands Ambulance, or email brianna.torino@gmail.com. That's BRYANNA.TROINO@gmail. Also, there is a blood drive at O'Neill High School. I'm the vice president of the Red Cross Club. We are accepting walk-ins. It is October 18th, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the gym. And you can sign up on the New York Blood Drive website. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Brian?
My name is Brian Elwood, and I'm representing the center. I'm the president of the board of directors. We work with vets there. We've worked with the town police and our police at the village, and we work with the drug and alcohol departments at Orange County. We help families out in various issues. We provide educational services. We raise money. We have a scholarship fund and many other things we do. We support our school district as well. The reason I'm here tonight is because of some of the same things that Trustee Modlin was talking about. On the way out from the center today, I heard my name several times. What are you going to do about West Point taking over the village? Is it true that if certain vote goes through, that we lose our houses? When I say no, or they'll ask me a question, I'll say, I really don't have that answer. They look at you like, maybe you do, but you don't want to share it. It's a very simple thing. No board, whether it's be the village or the town, wanted the vote first without the plan. That was from the governor. You vote first, and then we develop the plan. I understand that we can't answer all the questions. That doesn't mean there's a conspiracy going around. The rumors and some of the false statements cause a lot of pain in this village and in the town. Mary Jane Pitt has heard me say this several times at meetings. We've got to stop, because after the 8th, we're still going to be here. We're going to all be at functions. We're walking around. You go to Walgreens, you go to the food market. Wherever you go, you're going to see the same people. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. I still know people who still aren't talking to each other after the last presidential election. There's a lot of anger and really nasty statements that are being made. We don't need that. We said we would use the center to help people understand the different issues. Now, Chris Burns made it very clear that we can't use the senior center because it's there for senior activities. Therefore, we gave over the center to people. We are not, I'll say it again, we are not politically affiliated at the center. We're not supporting the vote either way, and that has to be known. Let's try to treat each other with respect and dignity and a clear understanding that people have a right to their beliefs and can vote as they please. On November, our residents will decide the vote, not elected officials, but the residents. De Tocqueville talked about it a long time ago. That's what makes a democracy work, and that's what makes us a better country than a lot of other countries in this world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Going once, going...
Yeah, one last thing. I forgot to say that O'Neill won its last football game, 42 or so to 14 or something. They are now, I think, 4-0. We got a great football team here in the local community. And if you hadn't got out to see them yet, I encourage you to get to one of the local home games because we got a great team to cheer on.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Are we going to do more budget?
Oh, boy.
Sorry.
So I'm not going to ask to adjourn, but I will ask for, what will I ask for?
A 3-minute recess, how's that?
There you go.
But I don't even think we need to switch the chairs around. I think we can sit up here and do the budget
Yeah, I think so.
as well. So we're going to go into a budget session. No one has to leave. You can stay. But I will ask you to turn the camera off.